Do. Just inviting a couple people to the live stream to kind of get things started. Alright, so that's probably enough. Good morning. Tag a friend. James. All right. All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to another edition of my channel on Facebook. Hello. So I'm going to give you a summary of today's work. So for the last couple weeks, I've been really focused a lot on the masks for all movement. Say that briefly, summarize that briefly. I really think that it's important to remember that chivalry is not dead. I put this up, I don't know, it's a thought that came to me last night. So I think it's really important right now to remember that the front line, the absolute front line of this COVID-19 thing is things like people like my sister, who's a nurse out in Kennesaw. Millennial women are on the front line as much, if not more, than men in this issue with the COVID-19, because they're the ones that are statistically more likely to be nurses. I'm a little bit more worried about nurses because they're generally not as high paid. They're directly connected to patients a lot more than like doctors. So just remember that chivalry is not dead, particularly if you're Gen X. You're kind of somewhere sandwiched between millennials and boomers and Gen Zers. So remember that Gen X men particularly, but Gen X women and men, but Gen X men particularly, I believe, have a really legitimate, strong sense of duty and obligation to really try to reach out to millennial women about things like the masks. Make sure that you have, if you could provide masks to people, that's just a good thing. So all that aside, don't really want to talk about that too much because I've kind of beaten that the horse to death. Today, I'm going to be talking about starting to build a biosensor for COVID-19. Now, this is going to be a long-term project that will take a long time, but could possibly be something fruitful for a lot of people that are right now just looking to get some new training. The whole economy has been disrupted, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. So let's be solution-oriented. Before this mess started last month, I went to Micro Center, which is the sort of computer hardware store. They've got a lot of cool stuff, gizmos. And I got this for $45. It's called the Adafruit IoT Starter Kit, Internet of Things. And what this is like pretty affordable, $45. It's a starter kit that lets you actually build sensors for analytes. So I got that for $45, and then I also got a development board called an NVIDIA Jetson Nano for about $99. So not cheap, But considering it's the same software, the same basic manufacturer that you find in like the Tesla, this fancy, self-driving car platform, big deal last couple years. This is a really cool way to kind of get some skills. I mean, personally, I'm trying to develop skills because I'm really rusty. I used to do stuff with big, expensive hardware back in the day, 10 years ago, but I'm really, really rusty. So I'm trying to, improve myself, my skills and stuff. So basically what I want to do is some projects and some videos where I combine these guys. And so I got this case, which kind of looks a little bit intimidating for, dramatic sake. And then what I have in here are the contents of the boxes. So the board, the NVIDIA Jetson Nano is this thing. This is a fully functional computer, a lot like if you've seen the Raspberry Pis before. There are these open source hardwares you can get for like $30 to $50 at places like Micro Center in person, or you get them online. There's like a whole community right now that grew up in the last 10 years called the Maker Movement, where the idea is to be able to build technology yourself. And so what's cool about it is you can take control of your technology and not necessarily rely on what's called closed source technology, that things like closed source iPhones, closed source Androids. The open source movement offers a way to open the box up a little bit. It's not necessarily easy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It can be really, really challenging to kind of tinker and, this is like the MacGyver style of technology, right? So instead of relying on a closed box thing where you buy it at Walmart and just runs, this is almost the exact opposite. These kind of hardwares can be really annoying and hard to get to work. But what you learn in the process of playing with these things, hacking as they call it, you get a lot of skills that are directly and indirectly applicable to the future. If anything, you also learn how things like your telephone, your iPhone or your Android or your laptop or any other piece of electrical equipment for that matter works. So this is the board, which is basically the computer. And then what I'm going to do is connect that to what's called a microcontroller. I can show that here. So the microcontroller is a piece of hardware that's actually literally $10. This thing is called a Feather, Huzzah. And what it does is it connects via a USB cable. I'll just do it here, simple. Keep it simple. Basically, you just plug in the USB cable here to one of the ports on that, and then you have this small USB port here that you plug in, bam, like that. So essentially for about $110, right? Again, not cheap, but also not expensive considering the cost of your phone. Your phone is going to be 4 times that at the very least. It's just they hide the cost for cell providers and stuff. So actually this cost of these boards is actually really affordable considering the alternatives. So once you have that, you can then work with what are called sensors to build out systems. So for example, this is a servo, which is called a servo. This can be controlling a motor like in a robotic system. I've got a couple of these sensors here. This is the temperature. and humidity sensor. And this is the one I'm going to be using in my video coming up. This is a magnetic contact switch, which can be used as a security system, if you want to connect it to your door. These are LEDs you can use to kind of play with buttons and stuff. This all came with the package, the IoT package. And then you got this one, which is a motion sensor. So that's pretty cool. And then you've got, in the kit, you've got the wires like that. And then you've got the actual circuit board. So what you do with this is you open it up. Bam. You take the, if I remember how to do this. It's been a long time. Like I said, I'm rusty about this, but it's been a long time since I've done this. So generally the way this works is you use these circuit boards. These are called pins, like the metal pieces, and you use the circuit board like that to basically build a circuit. So what these are called jumpers. So what these are is like a wire piece here, and to build these circuits. And then it's going to take me a while to learn how to do this because I got a friend in Slovakia that's been doing this for a long time. But I've mostly been focusing on building a brand on social media and blah blah blah. But this is the idea. So in a nutshell, you might connect one of these, what are called pins here, with these jumpers, and you could put it like that to the board. I'm just going to do a simple one. And then you have like this. This is the temperature sensor here. I'm just going to do this for example. I don't think I'm doing it right, but that doesn't really matter because I'm just trying to do a simple thing for the video because it's just important to get the idea out. So what I'm trying to do is I'm opening up this plastic bag here. So this is called the DHT22. A lot of this stuff is Googleable. There are a bunch of websites that offer tutorials for this kind of work. One of them is called Hackster.io. Another one is called Indestructibles. But there's tons of tutorials online for... I can't open this fucking thing. Here we go. Bam. This and... okay. So what you got in the bag is this sensor and what's called a resistor. So I'm just going to go ahead and play with it a little bit just to make it look fancy. But what you do is you basically plug it in like that, and then you might connect it. Sorry. So, and it goes like that. I know I'm not doing it right, Andrea, if you're watching. But, okay, bottom line is, now you've got a system that my idea, I'll explain it now. My idea is to actually use the art gallery. I'm going to show this now. My idea, probably different from a lot of other people that do this stuff, is to take this stuff like that, the electrical stuff, and put them on paintings. So what I want to do that's different from other people, I think, is I want to build cool art that could be shown in an art gallery. So for example, this is just an example. I made these paintings a couple months ago. What I want to do is, I don't have the Gorilla Glue yet. I'm socially distancing and on blah, blah, blah. So when I can do that, I'll go to Walmart and get some Gorilla Glue or some stuff to sew it in. But the idea is making an aesthetically cool looking art piece that you can imagine this robotic painting being the answer to all your problems. So I I need to continue building paintings and stuff, but the basic idea is to create a system that is both visually appealing, like this art stuff, contemporary art stuff, and cool from a technological perspective. Okay? Because I think a lot of people right now are looking for something different than just the ordinary phone and the laptop, blah, blah, blah. They're tired of it. I started this a couple of years ago, and whatever. So there's that. And yeah, I don't know. Much more than that I can't really offer. But, oh yeah, hold on. I can say something about this. So the important thing right now for me is to get a little bit of seed money because I don't want to work for any. Okay, yeah. I got this painting here, so that's another one I worked on. But what's important about this is Microsoft is actually really big right now getting behind the vaccines and the studying the curves. They talk about the curve on CNN all the time. I don't care what you think of Bill Gates. I don't think he's necessarily an evil guy. I just think he's a sort of a Okay. I don't think Gates is evil. I just think he's a megalomaniac. But he has a lot of money. So anyhow, what I want to do is build this system on what's called the Microsoft Azure cloud, which is basically massive data center somewhere in Microsoft blah, blah, blah land. But what we can do is we can take the data from the sensors, like that, and we can send it to a centralized computer that can do things like advanced processing, something I can't do locally because the hardware is too expensive. What Azure is like an example of one of these big data centers where you have bazillion supercomputers, like the degree of which you could do computing, in other words, is much more efficient and effective than doing it on like a small desktop. But so the idea is to basically write a grant or to launch a program where we get the data in what's called a pipeline sent to Azure, Microsoft supercomputers, and raise some money for. All right, and the reason why, if I could show that here, is to get money to the High Museum for their SMART program. They have a free art supplies program at the High, and you can already go there. I mean, I got this last couple months ago. High Museum in Atlanta, you can get art supplies, and the box itself is probably more expensive than what's inside. They just give you some pencils and a piece of paper, which is not enough in my opinion. But the box is cool, and the program exists, and it's the High Museum, which is Atlanta's, art museum. So the infrastructure already exists to try to get some grant money and stuff. So I think that this is going to be what I try to pursue somehow. Whatever. All these things are hard to do, and nothing is easy. But that's why I want to do the paintings with the circuits and stuff, because, this is an accessible space that anyone can go to, right? Any kid, any adult, regardless of where you're living in Atlanta, you can go there and you can, get some art supplies, which I think is going to be fun and also fruitful long term. So with that, signing off. Be safe. Chivalry's not dead. And let me come out here. Last thing. Doo-doo-doo. Remember, Mother Nature's in charge. And that's all.